Rosa, it's fascinating to hear you speaking in English, and I noticed that you have a kind of
An African
accent. Yeah.
I have been told so many people
Yeah.
when they speak to me, English people, that I've sometimes people that have just come to visit and to see them speaking English. I go up to them and we start speaking English, and they immediately say, "Oh, you're not British. You've got an African accent."
Yes. Yeah.
They notice it straight away.
Do you have much opportunity to speak in English here?
Not often, not
Not
really.
with native speakers?
Not native speakers. Only sometimes when, like I said, in summer, you have the tourists that come,
Yeah.
and sometimes the major will call me and say, "Look, we've got English people that have come. Would you mind help translating?" A couple of things like that, but not
Yeah.
really.
Yeah. And did you notice, did you feel a culture shock when you came from a big place like a big city like Johannesburg. to Valbona?
Of course,
Yeah.
of course, yes. I mean, coming from Johannesburg or the outskirts of Johannesburg where I lived, it's a big change.
Yeah.
And coming to Valbona, it takes to get adjusted to it.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
Takes a long time.
Yeah. So you were there for all those years in an English-speaking community.
Yes.
And did your family? How did your mum and dad get on? How did they learn English?
My mom never got to speak the language.
No.
She never really needed to. And my dad did, because he had a hairdresser salon, and he eventually started to learn English. Not fluently, but enough to be able to communicate with the clients.
Yeah.
And my mom never needed to speak English, because whenever we had to go shopping or anything had to be done,
Yeah.
she had to go either with me or with my brother.
Yeah.
She would go, so there was never really a necessity for her to...
No, that was funny what you told me before about your mum thought you were going to an English-speaking school, and it was actually Afrikaans.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Only later did they realize it, but then I was already immersed in it, so I loved it. I don't want to change.
Yeah. And did your mum find any kind of little Spanish community there?
Yes, as a matter of fact, there are still Spanish people living there. Lots of my friends are Spanish living in South Africa. I'm still in touch with them. And I remember having, when I was a kid, I went to a Spanish club, we used to call it, where we had Spanish teachers that came from Madrid to teach us to speak Spanish properly, the grammar and everything. And I remember going, I think it was twice a week. We used to go after school. I had to catch a bus, go with my mom to this place, and there we would meet up with all the Spanish people.
Amazing.
Who used to take their children to just learn Spanish.
Yes, yeah.